From NJ.com and the Heldridge Hotel, welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights, with your host, Steve Politi, and Rutgers insider Brian Fonseca. Let's start shopping.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Rant. Going to talk a little portal. We've got some news. The door does swing in the other direction, Brian. Players are allowed to come into the portal. Exciting. 2 new players. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk some football because people are clamoring for us to talk about football. At least one guy in the Discord is. And that's the only comment I read in the Discord because the rest of it is just people yelling at each other about the freaking basketball portal, which I kind of tapped out on that one.
I don't blame you. And we kind of fuel it, right? Because last week we're talking about, is it time to panic? And then they get
it's all our fault as usual is what you're saying. Okay. All right.
It's always our fault. No, anyway, anything within the vicinity of Rutgers athletics, if something goes wrong, it's our fault. We bear that cross, Politi. Yes. I thought you know that already.
I do. Yes. It just didn't seem like, it just got out of hand. But that will explain why I got out of hand. Because of course, I don't know, if people expected Rutgers was going to sign a young David Robinson in the portal, of course they got players that are not finished products. I mean, I don't think I'm not surprised that they went into the portal and could not get the top guys. They'd have more resources. I think that just means they can, compete for somebody. I don't think they're going to compete for the top level players still. And that's what's happened. So let's break down the 2 guys they've added. A center and a sharpshooter. You go pick which one you want to talk about first.
So I'll talk about both and what they both mean. How about that? It's my podcast. I talk about what I want. I'll be brief. They got Christian Gerdak, a center out of Virginia Tech. He was a freshman last season, a former 4-star recruit. He is essentially a more athletic, more in shape Lathan Somerville, right? He's the most skilled offensive big man they've had under Pico, along with Somerville. Finishes really well around the rim, really aggressive on the offensive glass. And there's some questions about his defense, right? He's not a tremendous rim protector. His defensive rebounding numbers aren't as good as his offensive rebounding numbers, which, that can be scheme related or whatever, but that kind of jumped out to me. So
it sounds like you're selling that short, by the way, based on what I've read.
Yes.
8% block rate was the number I saw.
So Manny Obole had a 7.2% block rate or something to that effect, and he has a 2% block rate.
2%.
So, yes, his is much lower. If you came into the portal season expecting Rutgers to focus heavily on a rim protecting big, going back to the Cliff Omori, Miles Johnson role, I mean, that's still possible. They're still going to add another center, probably as a backup, but their first center they add, their priority target as center is not that. So, and just to complete the point, they added Darren Smith, a sharpshooter out of Central Connecticut State, a 38% career 3-point shooter on high volume. This is not a guy who made 23s and 30 attempts and called it a day. This guy's shooting hundreds of threes a season and he's hitting them. He torched Rutgers. So Rutgers got a front row view to watching him shoot when Central Connecticut State beat Rutgers pretty badly. I guess my holistic point here, before we break down player by player, is that it looks like Rutgers is leaning further into the anti-Pico mold of a bunch of guys who individually have good offensive skill, but there are legitimate questions about both of their defense. So is Rutgers this is going to be the 3rd year in a row of a further extrapolation of Rutgers having its best offense under Pico and its worst defense? And if so, are they going to be able to adapt to that? Or is this going to kind of just be the same issues with better players?
It's a fascinating question. And let me throw it to you this way. Is it possible that Steve Pico has learned a lesson that other coaches across the country are learning, that it's very hard in the portal age to build a defense through habits, through teaching, through the whole thing, that you need offensive players to win in college basketball now? I mean, let me just extrapolate it that way. Is this a coach who's adapting? We've been screaming at Steve Pico to change his ways.
Well,
or is this a guy grabbing the best players he can find?
I'd probably lean towards the latter. I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it, right? Christian Gerdak is the kind of player we have been clamoring for, in the sense that he was not recruited by Rutgers out of high school. He never played against Rutgers in college. He's a guy we have just never had any knowledge of in the Rutgers basketball universe before Rutgers got him. He is outside of the family, so to speak. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Darren Smith is exactly in the foreign mold, in the sense that He played against Rutgers and played really well. He played for a guy Steve Pikiell was really close with, Pat Sellers at Central Connecticut State, who Pikiell was an assistant coach with at Central Connecticut State in the late 90s. And he's from a lower level. He is Jordan Durkak, because Jordan Durkak was also the NEC Player of the Year before he came to Rutgers, and now Darren Smith is. They're not the same kind of player, but you understand my point in the mold. Now, as far as playing style, your question, I like these players like as individual pieces. I think they're both really good ads, but as far as fitting the mold, I don't know. I don't know if this is them adapting, because that would depend on them. Are they going to adapt their offensive system? Are they going to create, run plays that give Darren Smith open threes, or are they going to just depend on him to create threes individually in the flow of whatever offense they run? Are they going to just start, running in the front in transition and trying to be more aggressive offensively that way? Are they going to be, more structured offensively and less structured defensively? I have a hard time believing that, because this program has been run the same way for a decade, and it would take a massive change to go in the other direction, but maybe.
Yeah. There are two things that we screamed about with this team that seem to have been corrected by these two additions. One is that finally they can throw the ball into the post and have it not be a black hole. Like, we have someone at center who can turn to the basket, score. He's like a really accurate guy around the hoop. I think that is one thing. All right, that's going to improve this team. Period. And like that's I don't know. Very simple. And number two is the same thing. Like, they have someone who can be the reliable outside shooter, someone who is and he was a 40% guy as a freshman, not at the high volume. He had to take a lot of shots for that team. I mean, I have not watched I watched the one game, obviously, by Central Connecticut State. All Rutgers fans did. I've not watched a lot of it, but I assume that he was put in a lot of bad situations. Probably took a lot of shots from bad spots, just because of, he was the offense of that team. So this is a guy who can hit. I mean, this is good. This is another important thing. Very simple. They need someone who can be the 3-point shooter, stretch the defense, who could, I think that's okay. So two important things. I guess my question is, does it improve the team dramatically overall? Like is right now, can you look at this Rutgers team now that finished, wherever it was, 14th, 15th, I can't remember, and look at it, that didn't beat a team ahead of them in the Big Ten standings, all the things we know that this team, the shortcomings that this team had. Is Rutgers now at least, in that moving up to the middle now? And I don't know that I feel that way by looking at this.
Well, I don't, because it doesn't solve the major issue of last year's team, which was they couldn't defend anybody, right? And these two guys, like, I don't think Gerdak is a negative defender, right? But he's not a plus defender. He's not going to accentuate your defense and fix one of the glaring issues. And, in a way, he kind of is a bit worse than Obole, because for all his faults, he did, by the end, hold his own as a rim protector and on the defensive glass. I mean,
Gerdak's a good rebounder, though. I'm right about that.
He's a decent rebounder. He's not as good as Obole was, but he might be better at knowing where to be defensively, because that was part of Manny's issue, is that, when he was around to make the block, he would block the shot, but sometimes he was just, completely in no man's land, right? So, but fundamentally, defensively, they don't make the team better. Now, their offensive skill sets, to your point, even if we're going to assume that they're not changing the fundamentals of the offense, they're going to run the same kind of laissez-faire, figure it out yourselves offense. These guys' offensive skill sets do improve that, because you're absolutely right. Having a guy you can throw the ball to into the post adds a completely different dimension, right? Adds a different option. It frees up the guards and does create a lot more options. And this kid is like, not Jokic, but his favorite player is Jokic. He has great passing ability in the vein of Jokic. And Danny Breslauer had a great point. They can run a slip screen. They could run a guy who sets a screen, and they could dump the ball into him after he rolls. There's a lot more options to do at center. And Darren Smith, he can just create shots on his own, right? My question is, obviously, with Tariq Francis and him, they both had enormous usage rates. They both had the ball in their hands a ton. Does that mean that they both are able to coexist and, play well without the ball in their hands as much, and kind of alleviates the pressure from each of them? Or is this a point where they both need the ball in their hands as much as they did to play as well as they did? That's going to be an interesting balance. Or is it going to be a thing where Tariq Francis plays, when he's on the bench, Darren Smith plays, and at each point when they're on the court, they're the go-to guy on offense? It's going to be something interesting for them to figure out.
Yeah, Darren Smith, also another excellent free throw shooter. We shouldn't discount that. This is something Rutgers is going to be a strength, and things that they have not had as a strength in a while. I mean, look, I wrote this after they lost to Nebraska in January, right? That it wouldn't be enough to come back into this year with just spending the money. Like, they were going to get money, they're going to have the cash. Steve Peichel had said at that time when I talked to him in the hallway outside the press conference, we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at everything. Like, I'm pretty sure it looks like we're bringing the entire staff back. Like, I could be wrong. I guess there's still time to make some changes there. You know, I don't get the sense that that's happened. I think, you know, your instincts are right, that like a lot of these changes are cosmetic without doing something to kind of shake up your approach after 10 years. You know, yeah, I agree with you totally. And I wonder, is there something coming that we haven't yet seen when the portal closes, when you know, we get to that point? Will there be a change to kind of shake that up? And two, are we done here? Like, is there another move coming in the portal, or has Rutgers spent all of that new money on these two guys in retention?
No, there will be more additions. I would guess probably 3 at least. But
3?
before we get into that, I've had people ask us for our current portal grades, where would we grade the portal haul as of right now? Obviously, it's an incomplete grade. They're still going to add more people. But as far as right now, we have 6 returnees, right? This is assuming Caden Powers doesn't change course in the last second, but we expect him to come back. 6 returnees, incoming freshman Imari Wooten, who, let's be frank here, I would doubt he plays considering the depth at guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's a really standout freshman, which I don't anticipate. And you have the 3 transfer additions, so you have 10 players.
Right.
Sitting where you are right now today, where would you grade Rutgers portal haul?
Well, can I break it down into 2 categories? Because I think, you know, this was an A in retention. They have kept the players that I thought they needed to keep, and I wasn't sure they were going to keep Lino Mark. I wasn't sure that that was going to happen. So I would give them an A there, but so far it's a C minus in going out and getting guys like, and I like both those players. Like, I'm not even saying that I think, all right, I can see the value in that. I just don't think they improved the team to the way they needed to. Like, that was where they had to get the higher grade, right? That's where they had to excel. It wasn't just retention. Like, retention was kind of like, all right, yeah, we need to keep some of these guys, right? And they did. They kept the guys they had to keep. I think they needed to hit a home run in the portal, and they haven't. You?
I would agree with retention, assuming they didn't overpay for any of these guys, which that's my assumption. We're never really going to truly know, but unless they splashed out to keep Lino Mark, right? It's good to keep Lino Mark, but if you're paying him more than he's worth on the market, it's less of a good decision. That's not my understanding, right? I think they paid fair market for all these guys. If that's the case, agree with retention. You pretty much kept every guy you wanted to. I will give the current addition. I'm not even going to count Luis Duarte. Let's call him a flyer. I'm not even going to. He's out of the grading. Those 2 guys, Darren Smith and Christian Gerdak, I would give it right now a B, assuming the next 3 additions they get are solid and they didn't, again, overpay for those 2 guys and have to backfill the roster with less competent guys. So
yeah, I just can't. I'm not ready to assume that, I guess, is the point I'm making. Yeah, sure. Believe me, you want to give it an incomplete? Right now, it's a C for me. If they come out and there's like a, you know, the point guard we've been talking about, someone to handle the ball, another. I mean, I don't know. Of course, I think they need another post player. I think that's pretty obvious. Like, that's got to be a priority still. I mean, Gerdak can't. He didn't play 18 minutes a game at Virginia Tech. Like, he's
but he was in line to start next season, from what I understand.
Okay, but he's not. They need more there. Like, you know, obviously.
Yes. No doubt. They're going to add, from what we understand, at least 1 more center, at least 1 more forward, because they only have 2 forwards on the roster. And I think in an ideal world, they add that starting caliber point guard, or another guard. Right. Now, the thing is, though, they do have 6 guards, right? And they have a lot of guys coming back who aren't coming back to just hang around. They want to play. Lino Mark wants to play. Tariq Francis wants to play. If Caden Powers comes back, he doesn't want to play less than he did last year. So it gets a little crowded there. But I think going back to the issue from last year, right? You routine all these guys in the backcourt. There's still a really small backcourt. And again, when you don't get a rim protecting big man to make up for that, that's my major question defensively, is they didn't improve their size. So unless they go all in on being this pressure defense, forcing turnovers the way they did in 23-24 when they had a top defense. But even then, they had Cliff Omori, who was one of the best rim protectors in the country. So that's another reason I'm a little skeptical about the defensive side of things. But those are the three positions. I guess if of those three positions, starting caliber guard, backup forward, backup center, what's your biggest priority? The biggest position they need to
does it have to be a backup center? I guess is my question. I get we have another co-starting center. Can I get someone to share that position? Someone who's good enough to start in the Big Ten? Is that possible? Have we ruled out just a good interior forward, like a good four, like that? All right, I would take that. Like I guess that, and that's it. Like it's really hard. It's really hard to say what the grade is. I mean, if you're telling me you're going to get like a high level 4 and you're going to get that point guard we're talking about, okay, yeah, then I totally see it. Then this all make this. That's a good portal. Good for Steve Michael. Yeah, but if you're getting like a backup center who you look at the numbers and you look at the guys like that Big 10 player, and you're not really addressing that, and you're counting on Tariq Francis to, be the guy bringing the ball. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, then I have questions.
Well, we'll do the cop-out answer you said before. We'll call it an incomplete, but we have our current grades that are subject to change on the record here. I have a name for you at forward. Will Sidnor, Manhattan transfer. He was on campus yesterday. Our Adam Zagoria confirmed a report from On3 that he was on campus. He did not play last year because of an NCAA eligibility issue that was not due to malfeasance, according to a Manhattan statement. They were very clear that it was not malfeasance. I think it was an academic thing with his transcripts or whatever. So he was that
still matters. I love that. Ooh, academics. How about that?
Academics were the reason Dorian Jones didn't play a minute for Rutgers this year. So they still matter.
I guess they still matter occasionally.
He was the MAC Rookie of the Year as a freshman in 24-25. So the Dylan Harper Ace Bailey year. Some good numbers, some kind of a fluid player. He visited Rhode Island and Seton Hall. So that's the main competition for Rutgers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you, if you've seen them, but that's kind of if I had to predict the main forward target to go alongside Darren Buchanan.
Is he more of a wing, Brian, or is he inside?
More of a wing. I would certainly say that. He is, let me get I think he's 6'8" is his size. Local guy from the Bronx. Yeah, he's 6'8", 210. Decent block percentage for a forward. Now, the question obviously is he hasn't played for a year. So, these guys stay ready and all that stuff, but that is noteworthy.
Any other rumors, names?
I got nothing for you, but I think those are the three archetypes they're going after. I think in an ideal world, you do get another guy at the level of Gerdak at center, where you're right, you platoon two guys. You don't want to make Gerdak your 25 a minute a night guy. But again, what they end up getting, I think, will be telling of how much they spent on the portal through their first 10 guys. I don't know that number. I know people are clamoring for that number. I could give you a guesstimate. I don't know for a fact. Right. I think the results of the last three guys will be, and I think it's going to be three guys.
Everybody told us, everyone on earth has written this, that the center market is out of control. So I am more than comfortable to say that he is a 7-figure player, Gerdak. Like that's even if some of the schools that he looked at were looking at him as a backup, that he's still a 7-figure player. Absolutely. No question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they would have paid for Darren Smith. The competition for him was not. I mean, there were not a lot of high majors in on him, which was the point that was made 847 times in the Discord during that conversation. So I don't know. I mean, that's perhaps they didn't have to overpay to get him.
Gerdak, almost certainly, I would be shocked if this was not the case, is the most high played player on the roster because he's at center. And because he was sought after by UCLA, for example. UCLA was the team that was going to try to sign him right before Rutgers. And according to their On3 site, which is very plugged in, it's called Bruins Report Online. They said,
hate it.
You don't like Bro? I love Bro.
We should have had a meeting about. They should have had a meeting. You're UCLA. You don't do Bro. Come on.
Their reporting was that they were close. The contract negotiations got in the way. So, I don't think he came for cheap. Is my point. I wouldn't be surprised if, high 1 millions, maybe even low 2s. Like it's the center market, right? Yeah. So if you're gonna get a guy that's gonna start for you at center, it doesn't come cheap.
Is the Denver University On3 site dude and Bro talking about it? Come on, that was good. No, I tried.
I do like it, And Denver, they're more of a hockey school, so that's very fitting of the hockey ethos stuff, dude. Yeah.
All right. So we'll be back essentially maybe next week. We'll have some more clarity on it. I think I would say this cautiously. I'm like cautiously optimistic. I don't know. Am I cautiously optimistic? I guess that's one way to put it. If you're telling me they're going to get 3 more players and there's money involved, then they can, maybe it was optimistic. Maybe it was too optimistic to think they were going to get a home run. What do you think? Are you cautiously optimistic, or is that saying too much?
I think that's a fair way to put it. I think we're off the ledge from is it time to panic, and we're back into okay, decent floor.
Right.
How high can the ceiling go? I'm not ready to say that Rutgers is significantly better than last year or anything. I feel comfortable saying they are better because they retained most of the reasons they were not the worst team in the Big Ten from last year, and they've gotten better players than the ones that left. Right. I think if you compare Christian Gerdak to the centers that left, and you compare Darren Smith to the forwards that left, Rutgers clearly got an upgrade in both of those positions.
100%. If you're taking out Manny and you're putting in Gerdak and you're taking out Dylan Grant, who was a nothing for most of the year, and you're putting in Darren Smith, you have improved this team totally.
So we'll see how that ends up manifesting in the results. But right now, I would say I feel pretty good about. I shouldn't say pretty good. I don't want to exaggerate. I feel positively about Rutgers portal hole so far.
All right, let's talk some football. And I this is great. You wrote a headline. People don't love your headlines. I love your headlines, just in case I'm not one of the people who complain. Wrote a headline this morning where Tom Fornelli bringing the fire. Preseason prediction, bold prediction. You know who Tom Fornelli is? He's a dude, right? He's like a person who pays close attention to this stuff. Like he's a name that people would know, right? I mean, I'm not exaggerating Tom Fornelli.
He's a national college football reporter, one of the prominent voices in the sport, an Illinois alum, which I know some people will immediately discredit his bold take for hearing that, but he follows the Big Ten closely is my point. Like he follows the whole sport, but Big Ten is obviously his expertise, and he follows Rutgers closely. Like this is not a guy who's just kind of flippantly throwing stuff against the wall. And I will say everyone does bold predictions. And as he noted at the top, most of those bold predictions are not bold. He threw a bold one down the middle, 95 miles an hour for Rutgers.
Let me read the entire thing. So this is his bold prediction. If you understand how important Greg Schiano is to the program, understand how bold this prediction is. And his prediction is that this could be Schiano's last season. Sorry, that didn't cut and paste that part. This will be. Is it will be? Will be. Okay. Will be his last season. Wow. Okay. The problem Schiano faces is that the Knights are only 31-41 in his second stint and have made a bowl game 3 times in 6 seasons. And one of those was with a 5-7 record. That includes a mark of 15-39 in the Big Ten. This year's schedule does Rutgers few favors. They'll play Indiana, USC, Michigan, and Penn State. Sportsbooks have their win total posted at 4.5, which seems reasonable. If they play to expectations, I can see Rutgers deciding it's time to move on after the season ends. All right. That is bold. That's fire. That's hot. Singeing for April 20th. What's your take on that?
My take is like, this is a guy looking at it from a 30,000 point view outside of Piscataway and not like us who are in the microscope. So I thought it was an interesting, thought, a view of like how the program and Schiano and the current thing is viewed right now, because people on the outside see 2 straight 7-5 seasons, and they see, some really big losses against the bigger teams in the Big Ten over the years. And for most programs, the last couple of years are reasons to start. You look at, he also had something about Luke Fickell, this being his last year at Wisconsin, right? For most programs, these kind of years are years where the seat heats up a little. Jesus Christ, I am really hard at sayings on this podcast. Now, as I note in my story, it's highly unlikely for many reasons. And he acknowledged one of them. This is Greg Schiano at Rutgers. The guy might as well have his name on the stadium, right? Greg Schiano is Rutgers football. He's the most successful coach in the history of the program. He's going to be the first 100-win head coach in program history this fall. It takes a lot for that guy to be moved on from, right? 2, he could point to the fact they are in an upward trajectory, because before him, and I know we've discounted this before, and I'm sick of hearing it, but the program was an absolute disaster when he left. Right, once his players that he recruited left, the program turned bad, and then it cratered, and then he brought it back. And 3, the most important reason of all of them If they fire him next year, they'd owe him $17.5 million.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not just that, but this is the first year. I mean, let's forget. I think the most important reason is that this is the first year that they've actually made a reasonable attempt at the NIL to give him the bullets to get into the portal and get players. I think this, and I agree 100%. Like, I think it is possible, not will be. I think it could be his last season, but I think Fornelli frames it incorrectly. Like, when you say, I can see Rutgers deciding it's time to move on, I can see Greg Schiano deciding it's time to move on. Like, I think that is a far more likely scenario. I do. And this is because this is something he said to me. I mean, like, I remember talking to him about the contract extension with like his was that time a couple of years ago. And it's like, look, it's not Rutgers that's going to make this decision. And it's me. And I still think that's the case. Like, I don't see him like in a situation like it could be with Steve Pike, where it's like, well, you owe me $20 million. You want to get rid of me? Like, I don't think that's going to be I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's going to be Greg Schiano. Like, look, I have taken this as far as I can go. I don't have the resources to make it work here still. I think that's a possibility. I do. And in that case, you could argue that it could be best for both parties if that's what happens. If this is a 4-8 year, if this is a bad season where they're coming off something and the expectation below these expectations, where I think it's going to be interesting if we're at 6-6 again, right? And then I'm guessing there's going to be some. I know there's going to be some people saying enough. We need a change here, but it's going to be a very difficult decision for Kelly Zinn, for President Tate, to decide, is the trajectory is it going in the right direction? Because there's going to be a lot of people saying that that's not enough.
I totally agree with your sentiment. I've said on this podcast before, right? I think ultimately what happens whenever Greg Schiano and Rutgers part ways is that it's going to be Greg Schiano's decision, right? He'll retire. Even if it comes to a point where people at Rutgers want to fire Greg Schiano, he will retire before he is fired. I've said that many times, right? I just there's many ways to skin a cat and getting rid of someone, and I think that is what happens. Now, to be clear though, when you say that it is a possibility, right, that happens after the season, if they go, 2-10 or 4-8 or whatever, do you view it as a remote possibility?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
5 to 10% at most?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always always a 20% chance, right? I mean, seriously, you're in the Big Ten. With both one quarterback gets hurt, the other one stinks. I mean, you could go 3-9. You could go 4-8 easily. Yeah. So I think it's, but
No, I mean,
remote.
even if they go 2-10, 3-9, the possibility of these sides parting ways.
It's the schedule. You can't go 2-10. Come on.
Let's say they go 2-10. Just
2-10. Okay.
Let's just say, just for the sake of discussion, and it is funny that we aggregated Tom Fornelli. You think he would get fired if they went 2-10?
Yes, he would get fired. I don't know if he would be fired, but he would not be the coach the year after that. No question. They 3-9. He will not be the coach in 20. I absolutely will not be the coach again at 3-9, 4-8. I think it's very possible he will not again. I think the odds increase. 2-10 will not be. 3-9 will not be. 4-8. I think it leans toward will not be. I mean, this is when you get into like the 5-7, the 6-6, 5-7. All right. I think that's a 50-50 that he'll be the coach. Absolutely. And then 6-6, I think you're leaning back to, I don't know. But you're not certain at 6-6, right? Like, there's a sliding scale here with what this is going to be. I think it's kind of fascinating, actually, to kind of go through the scenarios. It is no given. So this is the part where it's not bold. Certainly, it is not a given that Greg Schiano is going to be the coach in 2027. Absolutely not.
You are going much stronger on this than I anticipated.
Why are you surprised by that? You cover this team. This is after, if they have a bad year in 6 years, three bowl games. Of course, it's not. This is big business. This wouldn't be a surprise. I'm surprised you're surprised that's a surprising statement.
That's fair. Maybe it's because I do cover this team so closely, I have a bit of blinders on. But no, I mean, even if they go 2-10, 3-9, I would be surprised if he's not back. Frankly,
really?
I just
no.
Again, the money is humongous, right? So also consider this, that they certainly, but they could very likely fire Steve Pike after next season as well. So you're going to be on the hook for $33 million for your top
That's
two
it.
coaches?
Yeah. This is why this coming year is just going to be such a fascinating one for Kelly Zinn, for both of those coaches, because they are popular coaches that accomplished some level of success at Rutgers. Like, whether you say, "Oh, it's not enough, they didn't do enough," okay, I'm sure they would agree that too. But both of them have something in their back pocket. They said, like, well, no one did this until I got here, right? They both have that. So, and both have in their back pocket, well, you didn't wake up and see what happened and what changed in the sport until 20 minutes ago. They both have that in their back pocket. So it's sort of a fascinating. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be some discussion about this. I'm sure that Kelly's in. This is when she really becomes athletic director, right? Like, this is the moment for her with these two coaches. If this is the scenario, if football 6-6 and if basketball is in the NIT, or in that like not in that bubble area, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. It's going to be really interesting. Anything below that, I think you make a good case for both coaches to move on.
Not to belabor the point here in this discussion, but it is interesting. 2 years ago, imagine remember what it was like in July 2024. Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are in the men's basketball program, and everyone is talking about, can they make a run to the Final Four? The football program coming off its first bowl game in years. The defense was elite. They finally fixed the offense. The schedule is so easy. Like, this could be the breakout year for football. And 2 years later, you and I are on a podcast on April 20th talking about, is it possible that they fire both coaches if they have a bad year next year?
2 years later, we didn't get to enjoy that for like 2 minutes, Brian. Are you kidding me? Driving up to Maine to go on vacation. I'm getting a text. What do you mean, Pat Hobbs? What?
Amazing.
I didn't get to that summer. You're talking like, think about July. I didn't get to August 2024. That's the Rutgers experience. You think we got 2 years? 2 head of years. No, we got like 2 minutes.
Amazing. Amazing how quickly things change, and amazing that this is what we're talking about in April, but we're not really allowed to talk about football.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's spring. So
yes.
So this is what we discuss when the options aren't
right.
aren't available.
They bring this upon themselves. Greg, you brought this upon yourself. If you let us just talk about, like, not me, because I wouldn't be there regardless. If you let Brian go to spring practice and talk about spring practice, talk about the players. I mean, you observe things that we can't talk about. That's the reality of it, though.
Yes,
because
myself and my closest 100 friends from the Touchdown Club, we all we all watched the practice with the Men in Black CIA weapon. I forgot everything I saw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're looking for observations, why don't they give us observations from practice? Well, there you go. Brian cannot do so. I protect myself by not making any observations. So you'll know it's never me breaking the rules.
I guess one thing to take away from Saturday, because we did talk to Greg afterward, is that I asked him about, the quarterback competition. Is it possible we have a decision by the end of spring, or is this going to drag on until, the summer? And Greg he didn't really answer the question, but he didn't answer it in either way. He said the quarterbacks are making it hard on us. He's anxious to sit down and talk about it with Kirk Shiraka, which is what they do at the end of every spring. So I guess it is possible that after the spring they decide on a starter. It's possible it drags on to training camp. It's highly likely that no matter what the decision is, we don't find out until the week before the game anyway. So,
right.
But that's the one update I have.
Right. Yeah. And that does jive with, and that obviously I'm not getting this through my own observations. I'm getting this through just back channel chatter. That they think both quarterbacks are doing a pretty good job. Like, this is not an invented thing. Like, I really do think they would say, yep, AJ's the guy, if AJ was the guy. And I think that both guys are playing well. Like, I forget who said it. It's like, I was at practice and I saw completed passes. Like, it's just there's optimism about both quarterbacks, the job they've done so far. Some concern, maybe it's the defense that hasn't been great, because that could be the flip side of the coin. A lot of new people there. But for the most part, I think they feel good about the quarterback. So that's a good sign. And I don't think it's a bad sign at all that one of them at this point on April 20th has not established himself as the guy. If we're on August 20th, it's a bad sign.
I would agree. Again, that's the one, just to kind of answer the couple of questions we got on football from the Discord and Twitter. Thank you all for following us on Twitter and participating in the Discord. We really appreciate it. So McBabs First, he asked if I'm allowed to answer any questions about football. My response was, you could ask away. I will answer what I can. Their question was, is there anyone unexpectedly creating buzz in the building so far this spring? Not someone likely to be on the first or second team depth chart. I don't have an answer for you. It's also the spring. It's hard to, it's not like these guys are going full throttle. I don't have an answer for you, even if I wanted to give you one. I think that's probably something we'll know closer to training camp.
Right. And I think there's also a point, like, and this is where we both miss the spring game, but also the spring game has lied to us over the years too. Like I can't even think of the guys, like there are a couple of receivers who come out in the spring game like, oh wow, look at that kid, he's going to be good. And then, the season comes around like, oh, all right, wasted our time that day. So, yeah, I think it's even if we could tell you what we see, the chances are it wouldn't matter.
Now, just based on history, the one position I would point to and to answer this question, now that you mentioned it, is receiver, because, they have one bona fide guy in KJ Duff. You feel pretty good about Ben Black stepping up and taking over that secondary role where Ian Strong was last year. The third spot is wide open between the 4 rising sophomores, the 2 stud freshmen in Elias Koch and Dizer Carter, who we've heard good things about, right? And every year, Dave Brock finds a guy and he develops him, and suddenly he turns into a stud. So
yes. The name Elias Koch I've heard quite a bit. Yeah, I think that he. I don't know. I can't put him as, like, if you had to rank the leaders for, like, he's going to play. I think that's pretty clear.
Now, here's a question I had for people watching the practice with us the other day. It has nothing to do with football, but Elias Koch, the back of his jersey will have the word Coke on it. Do you think that will be a heavy seller among the frats to have a Rutgers jersey with the word Coke on the back? Because they really love Coca-Cola, to be clear. Nothing else.
Cool. Yes. They just love their beverages. I get it. Can there be, what was it again? Like at Iowa, they had like a bacon and they had, could there be a situation like have a Coke and a Smile? Like, is there kind of name named Smile? There's like an NIL deal waiting to happen with another guy, like Frosted Mug. I don't know like what name you could come up with, but say it.
Look, it's a little more wholesome than when Kansas basketball had Grady Dick. That was a very popular jersey. So there are less the various names.
Why would you put that up there for me? Well, come on.
Anyway,
get me fired. Like, Brian woke up and said, "See if I get completely fired today. I know what I'll do."
Listen, I could make the joke even further. There was a very funny instance that people could look up in the NBA where he did a jersey swap with one player on the Orlando Magic. I'll let people kind of figure it out on this.
Yeah, I remember that. That was good.
Okay,
that was a good one.
Anyway, to move on to the other football question, because we're kind of at the question stage right now, right? It's fair to say.
Yeah, I think
there's a few that we'll try to go quick. JP tomorrow asks us for fun. Let's tease the over/under up to 5.5. Where do the 6 wins come from for them to go over? Let's pull up the schedule. I should have asked you to do that before.
I got it.
So I'll go through and say the ones that we both assume will happen, right? UMass.
Yep.
Right?
That's a win.
Howard.
That's a win.
At Maryland.
Oh, up before Boston College? At Maryland's an easier win than at Boston College? Okay. But yes, that's a win.
At Boston College, I would agree, right?
Yep. That's got to be a win in your situation to get the 5.5. Yes. That's the over. Yes. Those are all.
Where are the other two?
At Northwestern.
New stadium buzz. Decent team over the last couple of years. Rutgers has had a hard time beating them.
Okay. That's got to be. I mean, that's the next one. I mean, Michigan State in the finale. You would think that would be an improved team under a really good new coach. So, but those are the next two.
Let's
easily the next two.
Let's go backwards. Which teams are they not beating? Indiana, obviously.
It's homecoming. I don't know. Spirited crowd. Yeah, Indiana. I think that would be it right now. If you had to rank them, the hardest, Penn State, second hardest, USC, third hardest. That's how I would rank it. Michigan. God, Michigan. Well, yeah. Those are 4 tough ones.
Right. So we have.
I'm going to steal one of those. I would say. I would say Michigan, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty there. I know they're going to throw a ton of money into their program, but that was not a good team last year. Had a lot of stuff happen. A new coach. I don't think there's high expectations at Michigan this year.
Correct. So if I were to map out my easiest path to 6 wins, UMass at Boston College versus Howard, at Maryland, versus Michigan State. Those are the 5 wins I see. And then one of at Northwestern or at Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is on the verge of, they could have fired Fickell by that point. It's late October. And as much as I joked around with you about Northwestern, new stadium buzz, whatever, they're probably a peer at Rutgers. So
yeah, I mean, I totally agree. That's it. That's the path. You can switch Northwestern to Michigan if you want, Michigan State if you want to, and then to make it a truly not special, but make a good season, you got to pick off. And Nebraska's at home, and they played that team better than the other powers. They're not, this is not 1990. This is still a good Nebraska team, but not a great Nebraska team. Michigan, I mean, they almost beat Penn State last year. Like, I understand what people say about the schedule, but like, it's not. There's no Ohio State, Indiana. Of course, you put them. They're by far the top team. Then I will agree, Penn State, USC. USC, just because of an athlete standpoint, Rutgers has not matched up with a team like that. But it's early, so all right.
Just quick counterpoint. They have lost to Nebraska every single time they played them, even when they were horrible. And Penn State, they've lost every single time to them, even when they were not very good last year. So
should have beaten them last year. They could have.
I will believe it when I see it. A couple of quick other questions. Hal D asked if we have any idea when Peyton Bonds might be back. It looked like he hurt his hamstring, or he hurt some muscle playing UCLA last week. Didn't play, hasn't played since. My guess is a couple more weeks, but I would expect him to be back before the end of the season. Rutgers is going to need to win the Big Ten tournament to make the NCAA, so they'll have to hope that he's back by then, which I would personally anticipate, but I don't have a firm answer. Kevin Fine with a fun one. Since we're kind of in the offseason and there's space in the conversation for soccer, can you please pass on my idea to Kelly Zinn? A cup match between Seton Hall and Rutgers Soccer hosted at Red Bull Arena, or Sports Illustrated Stadium, formerly known as Red Bull Arena. Would love to do a double header. So maybe we do men's and women's game and then have some paella later afterwards. I would guess at Don Pepe in Newark or something.
You had me at paella. I wasn't in on this until that point. Can we do Rodizio instead? If you say Rodizio, then I'm all in. How can we? That's that fair?
I'm all in as well. I think it would be fun, like to make the rivalry more, kind of like Rutgers men's basketball does a yearly trophy for basketball. That would be fun. I'm in. And Kearney Harrison, they play their annual rivalry. Well, they used to when I was in school. I don't know if they still do. They used to play their annual rivalry game at Red Bull Arena, and that adds some sort of adds some specialness to the event. So I would agree it'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I think these teams, and by these teams, soccer, lacrosse, all of these teams should play a heavily regional schedule, even in the era of Big Ten. I think that's something that, they've got to figure out as we move on to NIL. And as we're investing all these resources in 2.5, 3 sports, that this is the next wave. Find a way to get these teams to, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be great for soccer to play. I think it would be great for Rutgers, more interest. It's just every time you fly out to Oregon, it's stuff like that just makes it hard to fathom it getting to a point, and given the financials that we know about with college athletics.
Speaking of financials and of soccer, interesting news item came on the
good
agenda.
Transition. I like when you take control of the show.
That's what
here and pontificate.
I'm learning from you. We're switching roles in today's episode. Little off-season fun here. The Board of Governors will meet on Thursday, and they will vote on an agenda item to rename Yersack Field, which is currently, I think, officially known as the Stadium at Yersack Field, rename it to RWJ Barnabas Health Stadium. My understanding is the full title would be Yersack Field at RWJ Barnabas Health Stadium. I would anticipate that on broadcasts on Big Ten Plus or whatever, the announcers would be encouraged to call it RWJ Barnabas Health Stadium. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think this is the reality of big time college athletics. From what I understand, Yersack was a lacrosse donor, a Wall Street guy who died young, tragically, in his late 50s of a heart attack, who made this donation for them to build it. It was not a huge donation. This was in the mid 90s, 1994. Yeah, so this is kind of where we're at. Like they have to have these partnerships. They have to generate revenue any way they possibly can. We saw it with it. The RAC wasn't the RAC. It was Lewis Brown Arena, right? Like things like this are going to happen. Things like this are going to have to happen. Yeah.
My curiosity is a few things. RWJ Barnabas has pledged $1 billion to the university for the 20 years since 2018 for research and whatnot, but they did put $18 million into the APC, and that's why it's the RWJ Barnabas Health Athletic Performance Center. I'm wondering how much or if any money they're paying for the naming rights to the stadium, or is it just kind of included on the thing where it's, hey, I'm giving you $1 billion over 20 years, just kind of let me do what I want. I'm curious if there will be any renovations to the stadium, right? There was discussions of at some point building a lacrosse stadium or building another, venue. Will that still happen, or is that just kind of be rolled in here in renovating URSAC? What are the aesthetic changes going to be, right? Like, are they going to change anything on the exterior? A sign that says RWJ Barnabas Health Stadium. Those are my biggest curiosity is just like, what are the financial parts of this, right? Because it's a naming rights deal, and you would think that Rutgers would benefit from that in some way if they're going to change the name of a historic venue.
Absolutely. There's got to be some money coming back in. There's no question. And yeah, as far as renovating these facilities, like it's just, when you're sitting there, and we had Kelly's in the show, and she told us what's holding Rutgers back from truly being competitive in the NIL corporate space is there's no way to, there's no corporate seating. There's no revenue from that at the stadium or at Jersey Mike's. So that's got to be the next thing. Like, period. Like every bit of this, the plan, what comes next, they're working on it. I think that's going to be the next thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I know they did some work on the baseball stadium recently. They have they have the other baseball stadium, Middlesex County College, opening up, which I still do not understand. There's like a lot of things going on, facilities for the other programs that I think will both ultimately take a backseat to what I just said.
Right, because the question to me is, like, revenue-wise, like, these sports don't charge you to get in. You can get into baseball. I think lacrosse charges, but the soccer don't charge. Baseball doesn't charge, so there's not revenue there. And I don't know.
But that should change too. Like that, like they didn't charge for volleyball, right? Until this season, the first season. You need to take advantage of this, like, as well. Like they should be they should be creating a demand. Like I went to a futsal tournament in Atlantic City. It cost me $15 to get in. Like, I think there's an expectation if you're going to an event, no matter where it is, you're going to pay something, right? You're going to pay $150 to take NG Transit the World Cup.
Which Philadelphia is doing for free, by the way. They had a deal with Airbnb or whatever. But I guess the counterpoint is that it's hard enough to get people to go out and support Rutgers soccer, Rutgers baseball, right? These aren't massive crowds.
Are those people going to go regardless? Are those people going to go if it's $10? Yeah, I think
almost
80% of them, right? They're not going, I'm going to go, it's free. No, they're going because they like to go. So now they're going to see, it's $10. Okay, I got to pay $10. Like I don't.
$10 a game though. You go 20 games a year, that's $200. Anyway, that's a decision discussion to be made at the Rotkin Center. That's, but I do think it's something worth considering. Like, is nickel and diming your customers for the extra, few $1,000s in revenue you're going to make worth it for, the brand or whatever. But, and the other non kind of out there thing, but I thought it was really interesting, is last night, CBS Sports College Basketball, to be specific. They just tweet out the word Rutgers. Rutgers.
I texted you like 10:30 at night because I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm like, what the hell? What is this? Because Kelly's in retweeted it. I'm like, I needed to know immediately. I had to wake you up. Like, what's going on? You're not in bed at 10:30. You're younger than me, but still, like, what is this?
Some nights I am in bed at 9 o'clock, but not last night. I did answer you. Well, because I couldn't sleep because I was thinking, why is CBS Sports College Basketball tweeting Rutgers?
Is that right? You did not know either?
So I looked into it, and they had tweeted Rutgers randomly at various points over the last few years. They tweeted it during the media day of the Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey year. They tweeted it after they beat Illinois during that season. They just tweet it randomly. It's nothing. And Rutgers men's basketball has previously quote tweeted those tweets in the past, right? I think it's just an ongoing bit. And the other thing is they also sometimes randomly tweet DePaul. Is that the company you want to keep?
Yeah, no, that I didn't. That deflated the whole thing. It was funnier when it was just Rutgers, but now you're heading to DePaul. I was like, oh boy, that's a shame. That's a shame.
I think my interpretation is, I just think Rutgers is kind of funny to people outside of, because we think about Rutgers every day or whatever, like we're around this all the time. Like imagine you're like an Iowa fan and you're not thinking about Rutgers and you just see a random tweet that says Rutgers. Like, it's funny. That's the school in the Big Ten that loses in most sports, and Tony Soprano's actor graduated from there. It's Rutgers. It's New Jersey. Hey, oh, Rutgers. Ooh, like that's kind of the bit. And I think that, to me, I interpret that as kind of Rutgers being the lovable loser. Like, everyone's kind of just having fun with Rutgers. And I think the reaction's funny too, because the AD and the men's basketball Twitter account and the fans are all kind of like, yeah, Rutgers. Yes. And I'm not quite sure if they're all in on the joke.
Yeah, no, I that's great. Yeah. Okay. I it's a weird one. It feels kind of 2017-y with social media now. But yeah, okay. I'm glad I know now. Next time I see it, I'm gonna add my own snarky little thing to it when they do it again in 2027.
Maybe they'll do it in July just to kind of keep things going. Because the reaction this time was
Did President Wynn tweet something about it? Like that's what
that.
I would know. No.
I did not see that. So I think that's all we got. You had a couple more questions, but we're running a little long here.
No, this is a good question. I want to do two things I want to address. Like the question, how cool is Ron Harper's development this season? I'm interested in that because I didn't get a chance. Like I'm one of these NBA fans that like literally, the playoffs are here. I look at the standings. Like I do not follow the NBA during the year. It's just rock bottom on my list of sports. I follow sporting more closely than I do with the NBA. What happened to sporting over the week? Oh my God, what a disaster.
Don't ask me. Don't ask.
How could this happen? Wait, no, we can't move on. We can't talk about Ron Harper Jr. until I get at least 15 minutes of you telling me what happened to sporting against of all teams.
I mean, one of the worst experiences watching a game in my life. So I'm at IKEA because I went to the mall and I'm at IKEA and I have the stream on and I'm trying not to make a public scene. And
IKEA watching this game
because I'm a good boyfriend and I was trying to do errands and I thought we would be able to get back in time, but things run over. And I was watching the game. It's the 15th minute. We get a penalty and I'm like, oh my God, perfect. Sporting needed to win this game to keep pace with Porto. If they didn't win, the championship hopes were essentially over. They get a penalty. Great. They missed the penalty. Okay, I'm on the line to get meatballs at IKEA, and I'm already having an emotional meltdown. And then by the time I sit down to eat my meatballs, Benfica gets a penalty. And of course, they don't miss. And all right, it's 1-0. We're losing. And whatever. We're driving back home. We're down the turnpike. I'm listening to the game on the Portuguese radio. So obviously my girlfriend has no idea what they're saying. And the guy's voice is getting louder. And we score. We tie. I scream golu. She thinks I'm going to cross to the other side of the turnpike and kill us all. But I'm like, okay, it's all right. There's 20 minutes left. We're going to win this game. We get home. I turn on the stream. It's the 90th minute. We score the winner in the 90th minute. I'm going crazy. It's offside. It doesn't count. I'm deflated. I'm watching the last minute. We give up a goal. We lose. We lose the game in the last second. I almost throw my laptop. My glasses fall off my face. I throw my shirt off. I'm a whole mess. And I'm wondering to myself, why on earth do I care so much about what these overpaid, athletes and this incompetent coach who can't beat a big team to save his life? We're in purgatory, Steve, because we beat up all the minnows, all the little teams who don't know how to play, who have budgets. We beat up all the Central Connecticut states. We beat up all the Central Connecticut states. And then we play the Illinois and the Michigan states, and we are a disaster.
This is all news to me because I thought, and this check me if I'm wrong, I thought Sporting was having a good year and because they were playing Arsenal for something important, and Arsenal's a team I've heard of. Am I wrong about this? Wasn't there something happening that was good for Sporting?
So they made it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the first time ever, and they should have beat Arsenal. They should have beat Arsenal and their disgusting brand of soccer. Disgusting. I'm glad. Arsenal. I'm glad Arsenal is going to choke the Premier League. They're going to choke the Champions League. They're a disgrace to soccer. Mikel Arteta should be arrested. And this is no offense to our former colleague, our former co-host, Pat Lanny, who's an Arsenal fan. I will not hold against him the fact that he's an Arsenal supporter. So they got knocked out of the Champions League. They're currently second in the Portuguese league, and they're not going to win the title. Porto's going to win it. Wednesday, they play for the Portuguese Cup, and they're up 1-0 against Porto. They're going to the second leg. I am fully prepared for them to lose that, and then we'll end up being the bridesmaid in every competition. And I might give up watching.
Wait, did you just tell me that another Portuguese team is going to win the Champions Cup?
No,
not your Portuguese team.
So the Champions League, there are no more teams. Right. The Portuguese Cup, which is the domestic cup,
right?
Porto and Sporting are in the semifinals. The other semifinal is two miracle Cinderellas from the third division. So the real final is Porto and Sporting.
Gotcha.
Right. People have tuned out to this so quickly; it's not even fun.
No, I think people love. I think to the contrary, I bet you people fast forwarded just to this point because they love to hear you talk about. I know I do.
I'm sure you do. That's why you ask about it.
That's why I ask. All right. That's enough. We're
going
to be a lot of soccer talk in this because we're both covering the freak. There's 3 people credentialed for the World Cup for NJ.com. We are 2 of them. I tell you, there's going to be some soccer talk, or there's not going to be a podcast because we're going to be heads deep. You're going to Kearney today. I was at the NJ Transit press conference. That's how deep I am in this freaking thing. My God, $150 to get to the games. People, it's just welcome to New Jersey. It's these Senegalese soccer fans. It's going to be some guy. It's going to be some guy from Ecuador trying to cross Route 120 in Munaki because they don't want to spend the money to get back on the train.
It's going to be a rough look when the Senegalese say we have better public transport infrastructure
in Senegal
in Dakar than we do in Newark.
It's going to be tough.
We will draw straws to see which one of us will do the I went on NJ Transit during the World Cup game story.
Not
to telegraph my feelings, but I don't particularly forward to doing that story.
Right. Well, I mean, at least I have a chance of someone reading that as opposed to my analysis of the Norwegian attack. At least I know the team. At least I now know the teams that are there because I was trying to make a funny line. This is how the sausage is made. I'm writing my NJ Transit column, and I'm trying to like make a fun, like what's the funniest team here, so I could like make here's a blank fan crossing Route 17. I decided a Norwegian fan was funnier than an Ecuadorian fan. That's how I get there.
I will say there are probably a lot more Ecuadorians living in New Jersey than there are Norwegians. So it would be, most of the Ecuadorians would be locals, I assume. Travis Johansson, I always thought it was Dutch. Apparently it comes from Norwegian. Fun fact.
Really?
Yes.
You got a little in? Is he going to be there with like a Viking helmet on?
I don't know if he's a big fan of Erling Haaland, who the line I told you was it's probably cheaper for you to fly to England and watch Erling Haaland at the Etihad for Manchester City than it would be to get a ticket to watch him at MetLife if you're a Norwegian here in New Jersey.
Yeah. I stole that line. I just repurposed it. Yep.
Well, because you still don't know who Erling Haaland is.
Of course not. No.
He scored the winner yesterday.
I'm not going to know. I will never know. I will never know.
You will know because you're going to be at the Norway game, and you're going to be like, who is that majestic man with the long hair and a ponytail scoring 4 goals against Senegal? I'll be like, Steve, that's Erling Haaland.
Senegal, staying at the Heldridge Hotel. The finest accommodations for the finest team as far as I'm concerned. So let's just keep that in mind.
And practicing at RWJ Barnabas Health Stadium at your Sack Field.
It'd be great if some Senegalese forward. What happened to Yurkak? What did they do to him? Be great. That's my impression. They walk in. Sounds like they got the shaft. All right. Good place to end. It went off the rails, but gosh darn it, it's April 20th. What do you expect from us? We'll be back next week to maybe have more Portal news. We'll see. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant, sponsored by the Heldridge Hotel. Head to nj.com/Rutgers for more Scarlet Knight content.
Pardon.